So welcome back to Vietlish live stream. And yeah, this is a whole series. So today we're gonna moving on with a new episode. But today episode is kind of let's say following the news these days. So as you can hear on the news, or if you watch TV, you will see it on the daily news. Or if you read newspaper, it will be somewhere there. We have all heard about an storm which is approaching the central Vietnam, and it has been all over the news these days. So what we are trying to discuss today would be about natural disaster, but let's say the main character or the main topic today I will talk about would be about the storm and how we deal with that, and let's say some suggestions, some response, or what we can do in order to prevent or to lessen the damage that caused by the storm. So let's go into our live stream series today. Here we go. Let's start off first with some natural disaster you might have known. So first off, you can see on the screen, it is a picture on the right side of the screen, as you can see. You see there are a lot of water, and there are some, let's say, some car that stuck in water was blown away by water. So this natural disaster or this phenomenon, we call it tsunami. Tsunami. Okay. As you might notice here, the first letter T here is actually a mute sound. So you're not going to pronounce that the T sound, not tsunami, but it's going to be tsunami. Like there is no T here. Okay, tsunami. And the definition for tsunami, as you can already see on the screen, it is an extremely large wave in the sea caused, let's say, for example, and let's say the most common cause is by an earthquake. So let's say the surface under the seabed change, which caused, let's say, dramatically change, so that it will cause a big and let's say a very widespread wave in the sea, and that will put up and add up to forming a tsunami. And the damage the tsunami caused may be devastating, to be honest. Let's say the country that has the most tsunami, as you can hear on the news, or may have already known, is Japan. And yes, Japan also suffer from another natural disaster or natural hazard. As you can see on the screen, there's that word, which is here, earthquake. Earthquake. So earthquake will be explained as a sudden or a violent shaking of the Earth's surface. And this word going to be stressed on the first syllable, as you can see on the IPA transcription, earthquake. And the earthquake, what remains after the earthquake is the crack upon the ground. And it would take a lot of efforts and a lot of let's say, money to repair what was damaged during an earthquake. And as the same as tsunami, earthquake happens really often in Japan. And some building or some facilities in Japan have, let's say, have to endure it, or have to meet up with some standards or some criteria to withstand the earthquake if it ever happened. So earthquake, let's say, is one of not as devastating as the tsunami, but it still caused a lot of damage for the facility, the infrastructure, and the people. One more natural disaster you may have known, or you may have heard about, or you may have read about would be the volcano. Volcano is actually the name, or it's actually a noun, of course. But as you can see, a volcano is a mountain of, let's say, a mountain with a large opening at the top. I'm gonna circle it here for you to make it clearer. So yeah, this mountain is not closed, but it's opened at the top through which gases and lava. So lava, as you can understand here, are hot liquid rocks, are forced out into the air or have been in the past. So that those are called inactive volcano. And the volcano, as you can see, as the one on the screen here, we call it active volcanoes. And actually, the damage a volcano caused, let's say, not as much as the tsunami or the earthquake, as mentioned, like a few seconds before, but it's still very, let's say, very devastating. And if the people live near there, they may have got some suffer from it because gases and lava, as well as some rocks, might flow out during the active volcano. And yet you don't want either of them to hit you because you either burn or you either die from being hit by a rock randomly. Oh shoot, my bad. Okay. And the next natural disaster I want to mention here, as you can see, there are water everywhere. And yeah, this natural disaster, let's say, happen quite often in the central of Vietnam, and we call it lũ in Vietnamese. So yeah, if you heard about the Vietnamese word, I don't think you will need the description or the definition anymore, but I will read it anyway. So a flood is a large amount of water covering an area that is usually dry. And yeah, it happens very often in the central Vietnam, which cause, let's say, annually loss in their crop or their harvesting season. So somehow it would financially damage the people who live there. But in some case, let's say in some case, the flood can bring, let's say, a very, very serious damage to the people because people may lead to hunger or maybe leading to homeless when the flood washing their place off. So yeah, a flood, you shouldn't underestimate the flood, to be honest. And the next one, I think this one not really happen like that often in Vietnam, but this one we call it tornado. And as a kid, you may have seen it in some cartoon because I think the tornado are usually illustrated on cartoon or some, let's say, some anime. So tornado, as you can see on the picture, those are two big column of winds. And to a more academic definition, so a tornado would be a violent storm with very strong winds that move in a circle. So the winds in the tornado circulate in itself, and the winds, those speed of the winds can actually goes up to 300 miles per hour, which are more than 482 kilometers per hour, I believe, if I convert it right. But yeah, you don't want to get too close to it, or you don't even want to witness it, to be honest, because it might come to you and wash out everything. Tornado. And the last one would be the one we're going to talk about today. We call it a storm. And a storm here, this definition right here is not really close, but I will provide you with a more specific or more detailed definition later. But in short, you can understand a storm is a very bad weather with strong winds, rain, and often thunder and lightning. For you who haven't known about these two words, thunder, oh, okay, and lightning. So let's say, let me give you an example, or let me illustrate it verbally for you. So a thunder is when the sky is raining and you look up into the sky. Maybe you stand in your house and you hear a very loud noise from the sky. So we call it thunder. And lightning are, let's say, lightning is the lights, or let's say the flash, the Jesus flash, you might see before you hear the thunder. So lightning happened first, and then thunder will follow after it. And sometimes in my experience, this is for me, in my experience, the brighter the lightning, the louder the thunder. But I don't know if it's true for you, but if it's true, please comment in the section down below. Comment in the comment section down below. Thunder and lightning, and that will let's say it is just a small part of a storm, and the storm can be classified into some category or some main types. I will introduce it to you later after this slide. But before, let's say, before getting to know about the storm, why I put it as the main character for today's live stream episode would be because we are, as I mentioned in the beginning of the live stream, we are facing the tropical storm Noru, or in some article, in some newspaper, foreign newspaper or foreign article, they call it the typhoon Noru. So typhoon are, let's say, involved in water also. It's a combination. It's a very complicated combination between winds, rain, and water. So that is what a typhoon is. But let's say if we have a chance, I will introduce you to the typhoon to you later. But you can now understand the Noru as a tropical storm. That would be the best option, to be honest. So here, what caused the storm? Yeah, this is a very scientific definition, and you can read it on the screen. Is that the storm, what is created when a center of a low pressure developed with the system of high pressure surrounding it, and this combination of opposing force can create winds and result in the formation of storm clouds. Sounds very scientific and say very serious, right? But let's break it down a little bit for you. Okay, this one is even more. Okay, a storm is identified as a violent meteorological phenomenon where there is an occurrence of heavy rain and gusty strong winds. So you don't have to, let's say, remember all these things, but when somebody asks you what is a storm, I think what you need to remember are the keywords. Or okay, the question would be what caused the storm? What are the storms? What caused? So you remember the keywords. Yeah, the storm would be the combination of opposing force. and it will create winds and formation of storm clouds. Let's say, and that's what you can see from a storm is that the occurrence of heavy rain here and gusty strong winds. Okay, so that's all you need to remember when, in case somebody asks you what caused the storm in these days. Okay, just remember the keyword. It is much easier than remembering the whole phrase because these are very scientific, to be honest. And what I said previously is that the word storm can be classified into different categories or different types. So I'm going to give you four main types, or four main types of storm. Here would be the thunderstorm, thunder and storm. I think you know what it is. And tornado, which also explained previously. Hailstorm. Hailstorms. This is pretty interesting, and it's also happened in Vietnam, but it's actually in the north of Vietnam, the upper north of Vietnam, like Sapa. And lastly, it is a winter storm. A winter storm or snowstorm. I don't think we ever have that in Vietnam, or maybe in the next 20 years, maybe. I don't know. But for now, there is no winter storm or no snowstorm in Vietnam. So the three first storms, we all been through that. So thunderstorm, tornadoes, and hailstorms. Great. Each of them will be explained later. So no worries. You won't miss anything from this live stream. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, can you tell if the storm is coming? Yeah, I'm not a meteorologist, but from like common sense or from what I found on the internet, let's say the sign of this coming storm is that puffy cumulus clouds that are big. So you can see some very big blob of clouds on the sky, and they are very thick. And for the second sign would be the clouds and the sky growing darker. This would be maybe pretty much the same as it is when it is about to rain. And yeah, the third sign would be the sudden shift in the wind direction. I don't think you can ever feel this unless you have a flag or something, so you can know which direction the winds blow. But it's hard to feel, or it's hard to tell which direction the wind is blowing. And number four, abrupt decrease in temperature. Abrupt, so let's say it is very drastic or very dramatic drop in temperature. So as you can see, when the normal storm hitting the central of Vietnam for the last few days, for like 3 or 4 days, maybe three days, the temperature of the surrounding province or surrounding cities has decreased dramatically. As you can see in Ho Chi Minh City, the lowest temperature was recorded at 24.5 degrees Celsius, which is quite unusual in this season because yeah, like most of the days like before the storm coming, it is around 33 or 30, from 30 to 33 degrees Celsius at night. But in the last few days, it's dropped to 24.5 degrees Celsius. So that is a big change. So yeah, number five, another sign, and would be maybe the last sign we could provide you, is that atmospheric pressure decline. This, to be honest, cannot be told by a normal person. You cannot breathe the air and you tell the atmosphere pressure is going down. But this one requires some specific skill, or let's say some scientific knowledge, to be honest. Science knowledge. Yeah, but you can base on these five signs to tell if the storm is coming and get everything prepared in advance. And yeah, what to do in a storm? This would be the question you might ask during this time. As you can see in the picture, this is the caution or let's say the instruction for a flood, but probably you can use some of them. And I'm going to read out loud some of the tips that I found useful or I found practical to do in the event of a storm. So before a storm, you could make an inventory of valuables. So the word valuables here are, let's say, the things that are valuable or the things that has high prices or high cost, and you might want to protect it. So make an inventory of it, of them. And you should also create a household emergency plan and emergency kit just in case the bad thing can happen anytime. So get it ready so you don't have to rush, or let's say you don't have to find it when you need it. And okay, this one may sound like a joke, but it's actually going to do the job. Have a copy of your insurance policy and contact information on hand. Yeah, contact information, to be honest, that is the thing you need, but the insurance policy will cover up the damage if your possessions ever got damaged during the natural disaster. So your insurance company or insurance agency will cover all the damage and give you the money to, let's say, repair or renew your house in this case. And for during a storm, avoid walking or driving through the storm. Okay, no one wants to go out in the storm because it's super dangerous. You already know how dangerous it is. And turn off your gas and electricity. This is not really necessary, but it is advisable to do so because gas and electricity, if affected by the storm or water, let's say water with electricity can cause a huge mistake for somebody to make. So let's say during a storm, try to keep the electricity socket dry and don't get too close to them. Okay. And after the storm, I think you should return home when you have been given all the clear from officials. So in this case is when you are actually evacuated from your own home. So you're moving to a different place to avoid the storm. And we call that word evacuate here. Let me type it out for you. Evacuate. Evacuate is the action of moving people from one place to another place in the event of a natural disaster to avoid it. Boil water for drinking and food prep until the authority says otherwise. Food prep here, the word prep, as you can see on the screen here. Prep is actually the abbreviation or the shorter form of preparation. So you prepare your food and pour some water to drink and wait until there are new announcements from the authority or from the officials. And yes, going along with the insurance policy, you should take picture of any damaged items or property and contact your insurance agent or insurance company to get the money, the money for the damage. They will cover it for you, so you don't have to do it. Besides this brochure about flood safety, we also compose a little bit tips or let's say some guiding for you to do in our storm. So here, stay informed on weather updates. You can actually in these days and age, it is very easy to stay informed or stay updated. All you need to do is a click on the internet, or yeah, I don't think many people would use newspaper to keep to being updated upon weather. But now you can use the weather application on your phone or read some newspaper. It just take a few seconds. And that is how you stay updated on the weather during a natural disaster event. And then, yeah, when the storm actually happened, you would like to secure or move indoors all items that could get blown away or cause harm in the strong winds. So yeah, the storm is very devastating. So don't put your possession outside, but just move them inside if possible, because they might get blown away during the storm. And yes, after doing that, you should close your windows, external and internal door. This will, let's say, reduce the chance of damaging your own house, because the storm is, let's say, very intense, and you never know which part of your house it will hit. Well, after closing the door, you should stay away from it, as well as the window, because even if your door, let's say in the case your doors and window are all glasses, I would suggest you to stay as far from them as possible, because when the storm happened, there would be a high chance that the glasses from the door or the window get broken and the debris get flown away around your house and might injure you during its path. And the fifth tips would be don't walk around outside and avoid driving unless absolutely necessary. This will not be explained again because I told you in the brochure. And number 6 is that you're gonna put your household emergency plan into action and check your getaway kit in case you have to leave in a hurry. So yeah, this is a very helpful tip. So let's say pack a light backpack of clothes or your necessary, just in case you need to be you will be evacuated from your own places. And also bring an emergency kit, because you never know what happened during a storm. So an emergency kit or a first aid kit is necessary in this case. But mostly these are, let's say, the prevention method, or let's say the immediate response for the storm. But for, let's say, the long-term response, I think I will give it another slide to go through it more clearly for you. But before going to the responses part, I'm gonna tell you what happened in the storm, which is a promise I made in the beginning of the live stream episode. In this case, I'm gonna provide you with 4 common types of storm, which is here. The first one, thunderstorm. The word thunderstorm, I think I had explained the word thunder to you and the word storms to you already. So you just, let's say, merge or combine the 2 definitions and you get the definition of a thunderstorm. So a thunderstorm includes thick clouds, heavy rain or hail, lightning, thunder, and strong winds. So a thunderstorm I think you may have seen, or maybe you see it pretty often in Vietnam, especially around the month of June or July, around that time. So thunderstorm happen really often by then. And one more special thing you might notice about thunderstorm is that during a thunderstorm, there are not so much rain. It just like rains lightly, not heavily, but there are a lot of thunder and lightning. So that's what a thunderstorm would sound like. And the next one would be a hailstorm. Hailstorm, yeah, it's is another, let's say, type of storm. But what I want you to understand here is the word hail, hailstorm. Hail, okay, here is also the definition for you. Yeah, hail, in this case, or in this scenario, we're gonna call them, let's say they are balls of ice. And the hailstorm is an event where the sky, instead of raining, it will, instead of raining, so you already know raining is the sky dropping water on us, right? But during the rainstorm, the hailstorm, the sky will drop ices on us, and in a very violent way, to be honest. Uh, and what you receive from the sky, if you ever put your hand out of your window, would be tons of ice. And maybe it's really hurt if it ever hits you. So the definition or the explanation of a hailstorm is that some of the rain might freeze to form hail, and the hail grows so heavy that it falls to the ground. So let's say that is the simplest the explanation I could ever find. But you can understand hailstorm if we translate it into Vietnamese, but in a very Vietnamese way, we call it ice rain. Ice rain. I think it's making it easier for you to understand this way. Great. And this one, tornado. Tornado, I think I give you the explanation already, but as you can see, a tornado is a column of strong rotating winds, and the speed is amazing. You never thought a tornado can be that fast, right? But it can blow you away in a second. Yeah, it can destroy a building. So human are nothing to compare to a tornado. You can have a flight within having to hand in a ticket. Just step in a tornado and we'll put you flying. And then lastly, we have the snowstorm or blizzard. A snowstorm, also, you can actually imagine what happened in a snowstorm by hearing its name. But some people will call a snowstorm a blizzard. So a snowstorm featured low temperature, strong winds, and large quantities of snow, winds of more than 40 miles per hour or 72 kilometers per hour. And visibility near zero, so you can't see anything ahead of you, and temperature of 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is minus 12 degrees Celsius, or maybe even lower in let's say in some serious case. So yeah, these are, let's say, the four most common form or classification of storm. And I think, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, I think tornado would be the most damaging natural disaster in these four, only in these four. So if you know about it, try to avoid it. Thank you. The next slide I provide you here would be the SOS. SOS, save our soul, which is that is what it stands for, save our soul. SOS, what I want to provide you with in this slide is that what you can say or what you can do upon having suffering from a natural disaster. Dial. So dial, let's say, prepare yourself with an emergency contact list. So it can either be your loved one, your family, your friends, maybe your best friends will be better. And yeah, maybe some hotlines that you might need to use, let's say for the police, the ambulance, the firefighter. You need all that on your contact list so that when you need it, when you actually need it, it doesn't take too much time to find it. Okay, but when they call those people, when you call those people, what would you say? What to say? So here we provide you with some useful expression you can actually use upon having an emergency situation. So first one, call an ambulance. Maybe you heard this one. Pretty often upon watching movies, some English movie in English, and then call the authority, pretty much the same as call an ambulance, but the authority will witness what happened or the damage, and the authority will give some solution to it and maybe try to calm you down. But an ambulance would be the first choice if you have any injured or any serious damage. And yeah, besides calling an ambulance or calling the authority, you can also call the police or calling the firefighter for help. And yeah, in this case, this is a pretty serious. Does anybody know CPR? So CPR is actually a method of saving life by blowing air through the mouth or the nose of the person who, let's say, passed out from natural disaster. This is the event. So CPR is a method of saving life. Let's say first aid method that you can do on immediately after the injury. And do not worry, it will be all right. So this sentence, let's say, can be used anywhere, and it will try to calm the listener down a little bit. Hopefully it works. And number 5, I am hurt, I am injured. Easy to understand. And yeah, for number 6, to be more detailed about your injury, you should say I have hurt maybe my arm, my legs, my wrist, and my ankle or my neck or my head, anything. So I have hurt my plus a body part. Okay. And then I have lost I cannot find my. So in this case, these are your possession. So it can be your wallet, it can be your passport, it can be your insurance policy. It can be anything, but these are the things or your possessions. And after a storm, there are a lot of damage and a lot of consequences. But let's say I'm going to mention a few of them just to lessen it down a little bit. So people are injured or killed, of course. In this case, with some serious or with some heavy natural disaster ever happen, millions or thousands or millions of people are killed. And of course, buildings are destroyed or damaged. Electricity supplies are cut off due to the storm, of course. And water supplies become contaminated. So contaminated, as you can understand, let me try to break it down or give you a synonym, which is polluted. Water supplies become polluted, so it is no longer safe to be used in household. But yeah, as you can see, these are, let's say, very serious damages. But the response we have, or we would suggest after when dealing with the storm, is that we're going to have two categories: immediate responses and long-term responses. And as you can see on the screen, I don't think I should read it, but I'm going to point out the one that I feel, let's say, the most vital or the first priority that we should do after the storm. So for immediate responses, I think that we should provide water and food for people, because after a natural disaster happened, you don't know how. Yeah, you would feel lucky if you are still alive, to be honest. So water and food are the necessity that you should give people after such event. And yeah, rescue people trapped and provide medical support for injured people, of course, yes. Mm, and if possible, I think the government will do something to help you if you are suffering from that event. So try to seek aid provided by the government. But those are just immediate responses and what you can do right after the storm. But for the long-term responses or for the long-term solution, if you look further into the future, or if you have let's say a bigger vision, what you have to do after a storm or after every natural disaster would be repair and rebuild properties and infrastructure. And then, yeah, the same as the immediate response, we have to provide grants and aid to people to help rebuild their homes, or else they will be left homeless. And that would be another problem for the government, to be honest. And lastly, in order to make life easier for people after a natural disaster happen, I think the government should offer incentives such as tax break to encourage economic recovery. This would be good for both the government and the people, the citizen. So yeah, these are some responses we think are, let's say, practical to do after having suffered from a storm. And this slide, we are sorry. So I, Harry, on behalf of Vietlish, wish the central of Vietnam will get through the Northern storm safe and sound. And we also wish you and your loved ones health and being safe during this event. And this statement is also the conclusion of our live stream episode for today. So thank you for joining in, and probably give us a follow so you can have more content like this in the next week. Thank you.